Transmission start. They were our friends. So unlike us and from so far away, our brethren did not come from the same planet, but the stars beyond. It is with great shame that I admit that the first time we met was not on agreeable terms, a territory dispute on a mining planet that grew far out of scope. They fought with ferocity and zeal befitting the great warriors they were, but more than that, they showed mercy. When we found our positions overrun or captured, we were not executed or mistreated. Instead, we were fed, clothed, and treated with respect. It was the first stone in the foundation of our friendship. The war lasted less than a year, and my father, captured and presumed dead at the time, was instrumental in negotiating a peace treaty between our peoples. By that time next year I had met my first human. His name was Dembe, similar to my name, Deben, but that's where the similarities ended. We stared at each other for a long time, holding on to our mother's hands as we studied the stranger before us. His skin was a dark, smooth brown like the bark of a nobi tree, his hair only atop his head in tiny, tightly packed curls. He had a flat face, with only what I could assume was a nose protruding from the center. As if looking in a mirror, we both reached up to touch our faces. Where his hand laid flat against his cheek, my long-fingered paw curled softly around my blunt muzzle. I don't know who started laughing first, but one of us let out a giggle, and before we knew it, we were both howling with laughter, much to the delighted confusion of our mothers. By sheer luck, it turned out Dembe had moved into the house just down the street. We became like brothers, Dembe and I, spending every waking moment we had together. He introduced me to a game called Tag, where one of us was it, and had to touch the other one to make them it. While I was faster than Dembe by a good margin, Dembe could run far, far longer than I could. When I began to overheat and was forced to sit and pant it away, Dembe would tease me from just beyond arm's reach while glistening with his body's natural coolant. In turn, I introduced Dembe to a game called Rudeltaf, which Dembe told me was similar to a human game called Hide and Seek, except in Rudeltaf, you were allowed to run away and hide again unless you were tagged by the Rudel. I was gleeful to discover Dembe was a natural at the game, able to find me and tag me out. There was one time I'd climbed a tree to hide. You cannot imagine the panic I felt when Dembe scaled that tree in 3 seconds flat to tag me out. However, Dembe was much better at hiding. I remember one time I had searched for him for almost an hour before walking back into my room, where he fell on me after suspending himself against the wall by the ceiling by pushing against the opposite wall with his legs. My mother rushed downstairs to find us both cackling merrily as we argued about whether or not that counted as me finding him and tagging him out. We eventually settled on it being a tie. By the time we had reached adolescence, we'd gone down wildly different paths. Dembe took up Raktal, Dobia's homegrown martial art, and quickly became the regional champion. I, on the other paw, found myself engrossed in the literature and theater programs put on by our human teachers. I became quite popular after finding out I had a knack for performing, even taking a lead role as Lord Farquaad in a human play known as Shrek, the musical. I'll admit, I was a little worried that the ending with the falling chandelier could go catastrophically wrong. However, credit where credit is due, the prop team did an excellent job with the fall-away floor and tear-off clothing. However, through it all, Dembe and I remained thick as thieves. For his 18th birthday, I bought him a traditionally made Raktal knife with an engraving of the human homeworld on the blade. I'd never seen Dembe cry before then, but they were not tears of grief. The bone-crushing hug was evidence enough. Dembe stayed up all night that night, wrapping the knife's handle in the traditional knotted red Trellian silk before sharpening it beneath the light of the full moon, as per our ancient traditions. For my birthday, he got us tickets to see the famous human theater group, Le Fantasme, and their rendition of a human play known as Wicked, which was based on one of their ancient fairy tales. I remember so fondly how Dembe had cowered during parts of the play, engrossed in the action. But that was so very long ago. There isn't a thing in the universe I wouldn't give for those to be the memories of Dembe that come to me in the night. No, those memories are from a time I shall never see again. I remember like it was yesterday when the Gnosians attacked Dobia. I remember how the city burned around me, forced to watch and run as my people were cut down like grass before the farmer's scythe. I remember turning that corner, slamming into the chest plate of a Ganosian soldier, and knowing I wouldn't make it to the evacuation port. Then, I remember Demby, the Raktal blade I had given him for his 18th birthday slipping from behind the soldier's back before being dragged across their throat. He pulled me to my feet and told me to run, told me that he'd be right behind me. I never even considered that he'd lie to me, that he never intended to follow me to the evacuation port, that he intended to die fighting the Ganosians like his father before him. I searched for my friend, my brother, for 2 years, praying to any god who'd listen to help me find him. Did you know that humans have a planet entirely devoted to statues of fallen heroes? They call it Arlington, and for a large portion of their history, it was devoted almost exclusively to those who had fallen in battle in service of their armed forces. But after the Ganosians' brutal, unprovoked attack, it changed. My brother's statue stands at the edge of a cliff, overlooking a beautiful forest of nobi trees, and there he is at peace, stoically gazing out over that beautiful forest like an onyx sentinel. I, however, am not so lucky. Thanks to you, I gave up my passions for acting and literature. Thanks to you, I have taken up the blade and incense of my forefathers. Thanks to you, I now command the Dobian armada, the dogs of war. Thanks to you, I shall know no peace. The humans were our friends, our brethren from beyond the stars, and you killed them, enslaved their children, and destroyed their culture. I would say that I take no pride in destroying your fleet, Admiral Gavruk, but that would be a lie, that Dobian died with Demby. I relish this opportunity to watch the mighty Ganosian Empire falter and fail, to sink my teeth into the throat of my brother's killers. So pray to your goddess Admiral and hope against hope that she is more merciful than I. Transmission end. This transmission was recovered from the black box of the Ganosian flagship Merciless by a human salvaging crew who reported that the ship had so many holes we thought it had gotten caught playing chicken with an asteroid belt, and is accredited to the Dobian Admiral Deben Scarback Yalkin during the Reclamation War.